Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Ryan Eastman, tuning in live SportsDen in Alaska. Joining me in the booth tonight is Matt Lewis. How are you doing tonight?
I'm good, Ryan. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. They dragged me all the way up here to Alaska for this game. I'm surprised they didn't bring along the polar bear, but they brought you along this time.
I think they wanted to test our skills on being able to put up with this weather. Though, actually, you know what? It's not too bad today.
I mean, there's not 30 feet of snow outside. I think we'll consider it a good day.
Yeah, just 1 foot,
Just 1 foot.
I think.
Speaking of here tonight, Texas, see how they handle this cold
Yes.
as they're on the road. They're fighting for their life, if you could say they have a life in the playoffs still.
And you know what? It's a bit of a predicament for them because they are entering this game with a 28 and 45 record. They have to win out basically to have any shot at making the playoffs, and they have to hope for a lot of things above them to kind of fall apart at the seams. One of those being, of course, Alaska, who are currently slotted, I think, at the seventh seed. So we'll see if that can hold for them and get them back into the playoffs for the first time in a couple years now.
Yeah, Texas definitely, at this point, I feel like they're fighting for pride. Maybe not so much a actual spot in the playoffs. Like you said, getting their hopes up at this point would literally require almost an act of God to bring down a glacier upon Alaska and or Winnipeg to pull them down far enough that Alaska can catch up. And like you said, they basically have to be perfect for the rest of the season. But Texas at the same time is rebuilding. Obviously, they had a lottery pick last season with Birdie being selected
Yes.
number one. I wouldn't blame them hoping to perhaps get another high lottery pick and make a quick turnaround, especially with veteran Marcus Knight continuing to lead this team.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a dichotomy between Knight being the 8-year veteran for the team, and then you've got, Heitkamp still kind of at the beginning of her career, and you've got these rookies starting for the Lone Stars, and Lavoie Williams leading the pack. He's got a little bit of uh, a hop and a jump to him. He obviously was the focus of this year's growth. And we have seen glimmers of hope in that growth. But yeah, there's a little bit of a uphill climb, if you even want to call it that. The glacier of Alaska is pretty tough. They're one of the toughest defenses in the league right now.
Well, I mean, you can't blame them with their two bigs, Ogun Okayu and Mark Garina Jr.
Yes.
uh, holding down the post. And that's going to be an interesting matchup. Is no offense to Lucy Heitkamp, but she is a bit of a weight disadvantage here tonight, under 100 pounds less than the two furs she'll be battling in the post. But she does have that extra vertical. See if she can pull down those offensive boards and box them out, or if she'll get pushed around and bullied down low in the post.
I like her dynamism. She'll be one matchup to watch, certainly. Greena Jr. has a little bit more experience now with having been with the Arctics for a few years, and it will be certainly one of the key matchups to watch tonight.
That it will, and I mean, obviously, I always love watching the Okayu
Yeah.
siblings getting to be on the
Yeah.
starting lineup together. I mean, Alaska with the Baylors decade ago, and now they have another pair. Even though it's a little different having two rhinoceroses as your dynamic
Well,
duo.
well, it's the big and the bulky beings that I'm sure this has some advantage to them, even if they're not, covered in fur. I have to imagine they're a little bit better protected on the inside of an arena. So it's really just a matter of being able to work with your sister. Harmony being the forward for the team, and Ogun Okayu being one of the star centers of the FBA. It's a pretty cool thing to be able to see two siblings work together, but it does come with some disadvantages, and maybe we'll have to, every game is different. We'll see what happens tonight as they take on Texas.
And speaking of, who do you have coming out on top here tonight?
Well, I looked at every possible way that the Lone Stars could, in theory, win this game. I would say for them, the key important factor is making sure that the players on their side, who are their best offensive strengths, get enough time on the court and maybe wear down the defense of Alaska. It's not going to be an easy thing. And based on just the history in this season and how it's gone, I think it's pretty unlikely they're going to win a road game here. I have the Arctics winning this one out tonight.
And for me, I'm going to go the same way. If I had to pick the best player on the court, I would go with Marcus Knight, and he'll be my it factor here. If he can show up and carry Texas, then I think Texas has a slight chance. But if we're talking overall roster, especially the overall starting lineup, I have to give it to Alaska, considering they do have an established veteran rotation now. Their youngest player on the starting lineup is Hermione Okayu, who is in her second year now, so no, she has some greenness still to her. But you look on the other side with Texas, and they're running a two rookie setup with a similar height camp, only being in the league 2 years. So it's not a. They all are looking to Knight to lead them as the veteran on the team.
Of course, Sarah coming back in. Sarah would be my choice if I had to choose a player to watch. Alessandro Sarah, the point guard, and really because he had prior experience with this team, left for a few years, came back now, is a veteran in the league, has cross team experience that very few other players do on both rosters. There's more of a veteran presence in the Arctics, and I think they've worked toward that throughout the year with various trades and stuff. It bears them. This is their game to lose. I'll be honest.
Well, to be fair to Sarah, it's been about 6 years since he was last on this team. I think Najak was the only player who was still on this team. Actually, I think that Kina Kong, I think,
True.
was also here.
True, and so in some ways, it's a bit of a classic lineup that they've returned to.
Well, I think I see the players heading to the court, and we'll jump on down to the action.
All right. All right. Yes. Yeah, and as you saw there on that first shot, as Alaska's the first on the board, it was Knight going for the three. So they're looking already for, these big shots from their guards to contrast, kind of pull the centers away from the smaller guys and give them the space necessary. Nice. Absolutely. LaVoie Williams has a bit of a jump to her that's been really fun to watch when the Lone Stars have these runs. And here you go. I think he heard us. Oh, okay. That's a good point too. I think Alaska has just the experience necessary to have the presence to understand where each other are and be able to pass the ball that fast and take advantage of what's been a struggling, I'd say a fledgling but emerging defense for the Lone Stars.
And apologies, it looks like I was muted for a minute there, but I am back. Everyone can hear me once again. I wasn't saying bad things, I promise. But we see a nice
good.
block there out of bounds. Alaska
Yeah.
will keep possession, though.
And again, there, I said fledgling, and it's like they heard that, they had to show off.
Well, I definitely want to see Alaska. Okay, Sarah, fading away as the shot clock was winding down. If I had to pick a team, at least from the three-point game line, I would go with Alaska, as they do have three players that can shoot from out there. Even though Knight just wants to drive to the paint. For Texas, though, it really is just Knight that I would trust from the three-point line. Yes, TJ can hit from beyond the arc, but it's not necessarily his bread and butter.
Yeah, they don't have the flexibility, I would say, to really vary their plays and their setups, which results in Knight. I think we're going to see him taking a lot of threes tonight.
I think in general we'll see Knight with the ball a lot here. I mean, we've seen him start most of the possessions so far, despite not coming out in the point guard role. But there's the other rookie for Texas coming out, laying it up and in. Xanthos, kind of the, I don't want to say dark horse, but dark horse in the
Well,
Texas
I
lineup.
mean, literally, he is. And the fact of the matter is, he's not one who's going to ask for attention. But he's been able to provide with just enough. I'd almost say like an occasional balance between the two guards, where you're sending LaVois Williams into the paint, right, from the 3 points out, and then you've got Xanthos who can go in and kind of pull in the defense away from those two guys if necessary.
And we see Alaska getting a little run here. It started with Sarah with a three. First lead they've had here, and see if they can hold on to it. And unfortunately, I think I was muted for the second I mentioned how great Texas's depth is at the center position. And it is surprising. Oh, wow, stepped out of bounds there. Turnover, unexpected. Xanthos, the rookie, coming out on top of that over players like Cassidy Whitelatch, Ivy Robbins, Ciro Rosales. You know, the team obviously sees something in him, and maybe the fact that they are mostly out of the playoff hunt at the moment means that they can experiment a little bit with him. But Texas, that is the one area that they have advantage in. We see a dunk there.
Yeah, it was totally just Okayu, I think, running up there and all by herself getting that shot in.
Well, you compare her to her brother, and you don't realize how fast the rhinoceros can be. You kind of expect her to be slower like her brother, but you don't want to get in her way either when she gets a good head of steam.
It's difficult to double if you're going to double team someone between the two of them. I think most would choose Ogun. But then you're leaving Harmony open.
And especially with Sarah being able to dish the ball into those open furs, not a good situation to be trying to double team anyone on Alaska. And we'll see that their first trip to the free throw line here is Lucy gets called for the, I guess, shooting foul.
Yeah, Najak was prevented from getting in there, and he's going to go to the line.
Well, speaking of, mentioned Lucy being a sophomore and Hermione being a sophomore, both players you would expect the teams to pursue this offseason to bring back?
Absolutely. I don't want to point to the idea that because Texas is not playoff bound this year more than likely, that the players that they have on their roster aren't worth keeping. I think they have a pretty
Ooh.
ow.
Yeah, just
Sorry.
a swish from Knight. That does take the words out of your mouth sometimes watching him shoot.
I was not even remotely ready to watch a three-pointer from Texas land right in front of my face. But again, it's like they've got this second sense tonight, that they know where I'm talking about them and they show off.
They shut
But
you up.
all I was going to say was, yeah, I think these rookies are worth going for. Lavoie Williams will be up for contract next year, and it's hype camp this year. They need to keep hype camp in order to be able to continue growing this team for the future.
Speaking
She
of,
gets the rebound there.
I was going to say, that is her specialty, the jumping spider, pulling down those offensive boards. She gives Texas so many second chance opportunities. And while she might get bullied on the other end on the defensive rebound, she has not backed down against bigger furs. I obviously wouldn't put her...
There was that matchup that we were talking about before the game started. And she's been able to foul Okayu.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that say?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair a little bit, I think contact against her is going to be a little bit more overt than her contact against Okayu. I think Okayu is going to feel a bug bouncing off of him if she gets in his way on a drive. But
all right.
On the other side with Alaska, we mentioned Hermione. I realized that Ogun is also up for a new contract this offseason, so it's potential we might have both players having to be pursued by Alaska. Does that factor into if Hermione's able to return?
Yeah, I don't know. The aspect of it is entirely in the GM's hands, you know, and for what it's worth, a player is going to feel differently if they're not. Whereas Alaska is, you know, going to be back in the playoffs this year, Texas is probably not. And nice layup by Knight there. But it's been like a time and a half since we've seen the Lone Stars really take advantage of their division. Bikers have been so dominant, and for what it's worth, wow, big turnover there.
Yeah, that was big play for Hermione diving into the bench to try and save that ball, but it just gave Knight an easy bucket. Alaska does have to call a timeout. They've, as shown on the stats, a heck of a run in the last 2 minutes alone. Texas can't miss right now.
I'm going to continue to talk about the Lone Stars because apparently it's giving
makes them score.
Mojo. Yeah, they have to fight for height camp, and if they've got other, you know, further down their roster is probably what they need to refocus on. But I'm not, you know, their manager. If they see something, for example, here, as Rosales gets fouled, depth at center has allowed them to be a bit better at defense, but at the cost of not having the offense that they would like to have. Now, they've got a 5-point lead right now, but as Alaska crawls back here, it'll be interesting to see if they can maintain that momentum right now.
And with the Texas depth, looking at their roster for next year, I mean, Cassie Whitelatch, they have under contract for 3 more years after this year ends, but the amount of money is being paid. If he's not starting, it's almost a question of, is it worth keeping him on the roster? Obviously, the team is building, so they can't necessarily be picky and choosy about that. Speaking of, gets a huge block there against Sarah. We just need to talk about all the players. Sorry, Rosales got a block there, who's also up for contract.
Poor John who got the shot in. The rookie for Alaska got the shot in on the back of his heel.
Mm-hmm. Well, here's Whitelatch. Of course, I talk about him. Now he's going to score on the other end. They apparently we just need to talk about a player and they become an all-star.
All right, so who do you want to talk about?
I don't know. Let's talk about
Who haven't we talked about yet? I guess we got to talk about Najak a little bit here, right? Because he's been doing a lot of the footwork early on.
even though Black with the ball. No, it's Sarah that has been coming out here tonight as we see another bucket there. I mean, obviously the 3-point range is where Sarah thrives and where he dishes the ball out to. He has definitely the advantage if he has a big. Ooh, that was a little aggressive there coming out from Sven guard.
That will happen occasionally with the deer. Just to me, it looked like being out of position.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair to him, though, he was traded mid-season. Alley-oop to
Wow.
zero. Great dunk coming out there from the Ocelot.
No. That was out of nowhere. I loved that.
I mean, goodness gracious, that was some. If this was in Texas right now, the crowd would be on their feet, but poor Alaska, the fans just have to sit there and watch.
It was that ocelot trot, yo.
Sarah does answer back with a nice finger roll teardrop over the defense. Sarah almost being able to get a paw on it, but not able to there. And the game has been close. Only a 2-point difference here. And a chance to tie it up for Alaska. And, of course, they're going to go for Sarah, who's got the momentum off the glass. No good, the defense.
Sometimes it's just fun to watch Sarah try to take the ball up by himself and see if it results in anything.
Well, you
Now
have
we
to.
got Lady Black here with the ball.
I was going to say, you
The
have
same
to.
thing.
Well, the fact that she can just slip in and out of the post is amazing considering she's only 5 foot tall.
And she tied the game.
For Sarah, you almost have to question, does he have something to prove here considering he was traded by Baltimore to Alaska? I mean, I thought for sure he was going to be a key component of Baltimore for a number of seasons, but they decided to move on. I mean, Alaska had to give an arm and a leg to get him, giving up their pick.
Giving up a pick, and then of course they traded was Komensk and Card to bring in the veteran Hervonen and Svengard from Williamsburg. So they've been doing a lot of behind the scenes work to keep this team a playoff potential team that, again, it kind of got away from them a couple years. And with this lineup in mind, I think, and with the Okayu siblings on the front lines, they've got a really good potential set up for the future.
Alaska's been one of the unfortunate participants in the division of death. I mean, honestly, a team that would have probably made the playoffs had they been in the East. The East has definitely picked it up over the past couple years, but at the same time, the Arctics really have drawn the short straw, being in a division with Santa Ana, San Jose, and Hawaii. I mean, that is not a fun division for anyone to be a part of, even those 3 teams I've just listed. Blocked there by the Ocelot.
Well, if you had to travel at least 1,000 miles to get to your closest opponent, it's got to have some factor into it.
Look, SAS and San Jose might as well be best buddies because they don't have to travel that far for each other.
No, they don't. But they've, again, been pretty dominant in this division, with Hawaii, of course, being the exception, but we can talk about that another time.
Yeah, you mean in the playoffs? Hawaii pretty much guaranteed to make the playoffs at this point. I mean, the only teams that have really clinched so far, you look over in the East, BLV and Plymouth both making it in before All-Star Week even. As we see, a half-court heave is not good. The first quarter comes to an end. 31-28 Texas with a lead here, and the offense has been flowing for both teams.
Yeah, I've been happy with what Texas has accomplished thus far. They've been doing everything they need to keep this game competitive, and for what it's worth, the defense has been on point so far this game with some key blocks.
Well, especially coming out from Ciro, second-year player. You know,
that ocelot trot, yo.
You're gonna make that a thing, aren't you?
It is going to be my thing for this game to come up with just the best phrases to make the Eastman guy next to me roll his eyes every time. I love that.
You want to see me cry tears of pain and see if they freeze here in the booth, don't you?
I can't imagine it's very easy being in the cold and being you.
Well, we saw a great double clutch there from Seckford. Driving to the basket,
Yes.
pulling it down, back up, and we're going to see Hervonen, the veteran, pulling down a three-pointer.
Nice.
That
He can
is,
do that.
I mean, if he could do that, he might have still been in Williamsburg. But he has found some consistency. I mean, that's a player that has to really prove himself as well, being essentially cut from Edmonton.
Well, he just got fouled right after we talked about him, so he had his 3 seconds of fame for the game.
I mean,
guess.
oh, that was just a bad mistake there, and he's upset too with the pass. TJ, don't get too angry there. You don't want to get a technical foul called on you.
That was a bit of a rookie moment. I'm not gonna say it shouldn't have happened, but
yeah, backcourt violation. You know you got to be careful inbounding the ball like that. The ball was a little too aggressively passed, and honestly, TJ had no choice but to really step over the line, and you could tell he's upset, especially because it's going to go down as a turnover on his stat sheet, of anything.
And then now Montgomery here fouling for the Arctics.
Yeah.
It's going to make this game still a one-score game since the beginning of the second.
I'm not going to be too picky about aggressive rebounding, honestly, especially by people coming off the bench. If you're a starter, then yeah, I kind of have an issue with it because then you're putting yourself in a bad foul situation. But, you know, if you're the second or third center coming off the bench and you're fighting for an offensive board, it's not that big of a problem if you get a foul, if you're going to lose it anyways. And defense, where are you? Marshall just laying it up and in. The Woodpecker finding a wide open lane to the basket there. That was just lazy defense from Texas.
You know, he found a lane there on the top of the court, and for whatever reason, again, it must just be a mismatch, miscommunication for the Lone Stars. Now they're overplaying the paint, it seems.
And they draw contact. Hervonen will go to the line for two. And I understand that for most of Marshall's career, he's been a point forward, really someone that facilitates other players. But that doesn't mean you can sleep on him. Anyone can make a basket from a foot out if you're going to leave him that open.
Well, his energy level is so high. It's almost like if you do get the ball to him, he's going to do something like that, but at the cost of potentially making a big mistake.
We see a batch of substitutions. I think they're finally going to let the rest of their starters. Oh, they're going to bring some in, actually. Knight will be back playing point here.
Seckford stays in small forward.
And Alaska's actually going to continue on, and they have a lead once again here. They're going to continue on with their bench, but Texas wants to potentially get another streak going again as they brought Knight back in.
What do you think about this court design? Alaskan court here.
Very bright.
Are you as blinded? Yeah, I'm thinking a little bit about this.
I think the technicians
quarter.
need to turn down the lights just a little bit. But that's a complaint for the lighting people. As long as they don't, especially the cameraman on the sideline, whenever they do a flash, it just blinds me.
Well, I just have to wonder, like, is this strategy, or are we living in a different, like, the booth and the window and how the glare hits?
To be fair, the lighting does hit us a little differently. Because I sure as hell hope that the Alaskan Arctics haven't gone, snowblind. They know about that, right? Sunglasses in the snow. Is that why all the bench players have sunglasses on right now?
They were just trying to be cool.
I mean, they can just turn the AC, the heat off if they want to do that.
We can send the intern.
God, he might turn it on fire. We don't need the water cannons going off by accident again.
This has been a close game so far, though.
It has.
Really
Birdie
close.
only able to convert 1 of 2 from the free throw line. And Hervonen, and this might be kind of a problem bringing in someone who was a starter for so long. Coming off the bench, you know, it seems like he's wanting to be the fur with the ball. And not to say that he can't get it done, but he got cut from his team and traded from the team that signed him. Obviously,
Well, you know, William, I don't know what to say about him specifically because he's a journeyman. You know, he played for the Totems for so many years, and he's become a journeyman, I should say. The Cougars almost reaching that point now where he's got to look at his career and go, okay, my position, I'm better served at helping out the younger guys, keeping the energy high. I can fill in and make those shots if you call on me. I'm not the hottest new thing in the league. He's got to live up to that kind of realization now.
and Najak is on fire from the left sideline. That's the second 3 tonight for him, and he ties it up 38 apiece here. 7.5 minutes left to go in the second quarter.
You could say the same of Najak, but it's almost a different side of the same coin, I should say.
And Knight answering back with a 3 of his own. Well, that's the thing with Najak. Najak's actually starting. And, you know, he's proven he still has it. And, I mean, he's not necessarily old. It's just that with Hervonen, you have to feel like there's some kind of question marks of being a starter for so long and then being cut and then being traded from the team that did sign you that wasn't even playing you as a starter. He was coming off the bench for Williamsburg, too. So it's not like he's really been a starter, but he's still acting like he's a starter. And Knight, how do you get that with the contact? Speaking of Hervonen fouling, and just we see a difference there, points in the paint. Texas has been attacking the paint here tonight as he converts the and one opportunity, and Texas up by 6 now.
And they're bringing in some of their bench to relieve the defensive guys. And I don't know if that's because of what you just said, but for the most part, Knight is still pulling the weight of this team. But it's been working.
That it has, and I mean,
while Williams has, I was going to make another dumb comment earlier. I just love the way he kind of leaps and jumps and skips across court.
You would find that interesting. Second reach-in foul for Heitkamp there, and finally we'll see Sarah back on the floor. Hervonen will take a rest after making that last bucket. You gotta be careful that they might get into a bonus situation if they keep reaching in. Quick pass to Najak, and that was just a great inbound, and unfortunately it didn't go in. Most teams don't attack the post off of an inbound like that.
Oh, man.
And no answer on the other end. Berenson unable to. Sarah, see if he can come off the bench after that break and continue on with the same groove that he had in the first quarter. We already saw Knight is continuing his ways.
If there's anything so far that I can say about Alaska, is they are down by 4 at the moment. They've been able to keep into this game because the shooting hasn't been perfect, and then mistakes like that.
And then you speak, and then they have a problem.
are kind of plaguing them at the moment.
Yeah, we obviously saw Texas go on that huge run earlier. I think it was like 14 points in 2 minutes. And it was off the back of Knight, who's trying to still get it going, but we've hit a dry spell for both teams. And we'll see how they choose to answer it. I feel like with Alaska, they're going to attack the post, but a sloppy play from Okayu. He was too focused on where he was going to be going next and just lost the ball. And that wasn't even like tapped out by the defense or anything. He just completely let it slip.
Yeah, Texas was taking their turns with some big mistakes. We had that backcourt violation earlier. Alaska now is not maybe totally paying attention. It's just as I speak about that, of course, the key block there to get the ball back, and Najak coming in, rolls off the rim.
Yeah, that was Okayu kind of making up for his mistake blocking White Latch. Now they're going to go in Knight. Dishing over to Birdie, who's calling for a screen, but I don't think they're going to get an easy lane to the basket. Two defenders draped, but he still is able to lay it up and in. That's his 9th point here tonight.
I'd have to see the replay, but it almost looked like it got deflected into the hoop.
It was close. I mean, it was hard to tell if it came off the finger roll or not. See how Alaska answers, and both teams have been pretty quick in their shot selection. They haven't really milked the shot clock too much, and Okayu, not his range, but they just could not get an open fur, and Berenson wide open finally, laying it up and in. There's, again, another big run from the Lone Stars, even though it's been over a much longer period of time.
Gold Lab doesn't get a lot of time, but the forward knows exactly how to take advantage of it.
Yeah.
See the timeout here.
They
Alaska
need a timeout.
needs to, yeah.
A 15-5 run, I mean now 17-5 run, is not a good look. They did this last time. They called timeout after the last streak started going, and they were able to finally kind of break out of the funk. If they want to do that again, I think they need to give it to Najak on the perimeter. But driving to the basket and getting a foul is one way to get the points flowing again.
Birdie there. I don't know if it was just single mistake or not, but Najak didn't even get the first free throw here.
Yeah, and I mentioned Najak in the perimeter because that's where he's made his 2 shots, and as you saw, 2 for 10 from the floor. He hasn't really been able to get it done elsewhere, but makes the second. That left sideline, I'd keep milking it if he is feeling it from there. Other than that, getting the ball to Sarah.
Are they, well, so here's my next question. Is Texas successfully wearing down this Alaska defense right now? As you just see, they're now at 10-point lead.
That's just off Knight doing otter things, because that was not a very pretty shot, but somehow he's like, oh, I'm open. Okay, I'm just going to take this off-balance 3 from 2 feet beyond the 3-point line and still make it.
Getcha. They needed that, though.
Well, that's Najak's first bucket from inside the paint. So hopefully that gets him going. I'm just going to keep an eye out on Knight to see what he throws up, because apparently he's just doing heat checks at this point.
Well, they just gave him the lane. Ugh.
Well, that was good defense by Okayu. She was able to at least make it an uncomfortable shot for him. Back to Najak. They're going constantly to the Fox, but going to get another foul called there. Not in the bonus quite yet. One more and they will be.
Is it just me? Or has there been a lot of fouling in this game, too?
There's been a fair number of fouls on both sides. And Najak from beyond the arc, no good. Golden Retriever pulls it down.
Like that quick pass there.
Yeah, they wanted to get a fast break opportunity going, but and that's where they've been successful, is because of those fast breaks they've been getting to the paint. As TJ steps inside the 3-point line, gets it to fall, and we're back to that 10-point lead. Alaska, in this last 2 minutes, will really want to chip away at that. I'm not saying that they should aim to erase it, but get it back to like a 5 or 6 point difference here if they can.
Yeah, I was, with Amos. Oh, and then that's another turnover from Svengard. Alaska lucky to get it back without sacrificing more points.
Ooh, he makes up for it though, slamming it down on the other end. You know, he's really great when he doesn't have to dribble the ball. If he can just be handed it right on the way to the basket, he'll slam it down.
Crowd loved that. That is a huge three. Oh my god.
TJ apparently trying to outdo Knight in terms of distance. I mean, that was a much cleaner jump in form, even though he was still in motion sideways. But
someone call TJ's mom and wake her up. South Dakota.
Well, Najak once again into the free throw line. There's the bonus coming into play. 4 for 5 from the free throw line. Doing much better from that range than the floor as a whole. And Texas will bring out Heitkamp again. Najak good on the second. There we are back within 9 after that 3. That really, Alaska's a little heartbroken after that. They could have been back within 6 right now had TJ not hit that absolute bomb of a shot.
Yeah, Texas has been doing time management pretty well so far at the end of this second quarter. Not really giving Alaska much opportunity if they don't make it here. If they don't at least get a couple threes before the end of, well, they only have 20 seconds now. And they've handed it to their shortest player.
I mean, she can put up a 3, I guess, but that pump fake did draw 0, but a block, no surprise there. And, but she gets it back.
Oh, that would have been so cool.
That would have been great. And TJ, again, he almost made that shot. And to be fair, he made that shot a foot in further previously. So, but yes.
Last 20 seconds.
I mean, it was a little bit of a roller coaster with Black somehow ending up with the ball after being blocked. But, I mean, that's where she specializes. She can just dive in and grab the ball from the defenders, especially when they're not paying attention. But with that, Texas ends the first half up by 9. Alaska not really able to chip into that lead all that much. I mean, I will say being down by 9 is a lot different than being down by 10, despite it only being 1 point. But we'll dive into the stats here. Najak, 13 points, most of them coming from the free throw line practically. 5 for 6 there, 3 for 12 from the field. Sarah, 9 points, 1 rebound, 2 assists, 4 for 8 from the floor. Hermione Okayu, 4 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, and a steal. Perfect from the floor, so you might want to see her getting more involved. Obviously, she had that big dunk earlier. And her big brother, Ogun Okayu, hasn't actually made a bucket yet, but 5 rebounds and a block. Try and see him maybe get involved in that post play a little bit more. Mark Garina Jr., 2 points, 4 rebounds, 1 for 2 from the floor. Svengard had that 1 turnover, but did make it up with that huge dunk following that turnover. Did get 1 rebound. But I'd like to see him a little bit more involved in the boxing out game. Only 1 rebound, and he with 10 minutes. Marshall, 2 points, 1 assist. 1 for 1. Only been on the floor for 9 minutes. Black, 2 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 for 4. Doing a bit of everything. I don't know how she got 2 rebounds, but I guess every dog gets a bone every now and again.
Dog has its day.
Porjan, 6 points, 6 rebounds, 2 for 4. Hervonen, 7 points, 2 for 5 with 1 3 made. 2 fouls, though, in only 7 minutes. Has to be a little careful. Not a big deal if he fouls out, but got to keep an eye on those fouls, especially when it gets into the bonus situation. Montgomery.
Yeah, they need to get more than Najak involved to be better in the second half.
Oh, definitely. They need Sarah involved. He's probably their best scorer right now besides Ogun, who hasn't had a shot made yet. Amoth, 7 points, 5 assists. That 1 huge 3 coming in. Knight, though, 3 for 4 from beyond the arc, has put up 20 points in the first half, on track for a 40-point game.
There you go.
Birdie Lavoie Williams, 9 points, 3 rebounds, and an assist. 4 for 5 from the field. Lucy Heitkamp, 2 points, 4 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 offensive rebound. Already pulling one of those down tonight. Expect a few more from her. Xanthos, 8 points, 6 rebounds, 4 for 4 from the field with 2 blocks. Getting it done on defense, that huge block you just saw in the replay.
Yeah, excellent game for the rookie so far.
Yeah, both of them. Conway, 2 assists, 1 rebound, 1 steal, and a block. Everything but a basket to his name. Whitelatch, 2 points, 3 rebounds, and an assist. Isadora Severine, 8 minutes, missed all 3 of her shots so far. Berenson, 2 points and a rebound with a steal. Sec Ford, 2 points, that nice double clutch underneath the basket to get that bucket. Robbins, 1 rebound in 6 minutes. Rosales, 4 points, 2 rebounds, and 2 blocks in only 5 minutes. Effective use of his time, as you said, the Ocelot trot.
That Ocelot trot, yo. Make it trend.
But right there is the big stat line. 20 points for Marcus Knight in the first half. 8 for 16. Keep an eye on him and seeing how Alaska adjusts. And we already see their first adjustment by going to the post with Grina Jr., relying on their big for their first basket of the quarter.
If they, again, Najak had a lot riding on him, but he's not been shooting well tonight, so they've got to spread it to the rest of their starting lineup to kind of make up for it.
Gosh, that pass from TJ down the Knight, he was so far out in the defense. You could just see Knight breaking to the basket. He has such a great view of the court when he's that far back. It takes a laser beam to get there without the defense intercepting it. And again, back to Garina Jr., and he's already made his second.
There you go. Keep that up, and we'll make this a game.
I mean, it has been a game, definitely. It's been off the back of 2 Texas runs that they found a lead. At that time, Okayu collapses on Knight, and somehow that basket looked like it might even go in. And Hermione elevating the Rhinoceros, slamming it down. And Alaska, get off your seats right now. They are getting it going. Blocked by...
hot start. Oh, my gosh.
Talk about an adjustment being made at the half, and we're going to see another dunk from Hermione.
Yeah!
Texas maybe needs to call a timeout because apparently Alaska is... This is a different team.
It's a completely different team, though. Just Amos there playing survival mode with that shot. But I've got a lot of faith in Alaska's explosiveness, and they're distributing it now. Whether it's, great to do it in the third quarter or not, we can discuss that. But it's kind of important that Texas comes out running out of the gate, too, to keep that momentum alive. And they're not keeping that.
Oh, thank goodness.
Stuff like that.
Sarah proved that they're not, immortal beings.
But there you go. LaVois Williams there with the quick layup.
He just attacks the post so well, and that's a great dichotomy to have with Marcus Knight. I mean, Knight is a 3-level scorer, but Birdie's tenaciousness in the post, especially when Knight is having such a great game, as we see Knight, speaking of, fouling Sarah. When Knight's having a game from the three-point line, that just is the perfect situation for Birdie and honestly anyone on Texas to just attack the post, because every player on the opponent team is going to be focused on where's Knight if he is going off.
Knight at the 2 being the long shooter and sending Birdie into the paint for the quick layups and setting up potential plays, pass and rolls and stuff like that, you would have a lot to work with in the future. It's worked tonight on this Arctics defense. Again, I'm still kind of surprised by it, but hey, those 2 I think are going to be a dynamic duo to pay attention to in the upcoming seasons if they stay with Texas.
Yeah, Sarah unable to make the second. I mean, speaking of Knight, he's just going to lay it up and in. So I have been a huge fan of Knight. It's okay. Knight, I have always been a fan of in the sense that he has the passing ability, he has the shooting ability, and he has the size too, 6'5", 189. He can match up against some small forwards, as we see Alaska answering back. But this guy is someone who could play the 1 through 3 spot and succeed. It's just he's been on Texas and he's been loyal to Texas. And they really do just need to get him some help, because as I mentioned before the game, if he is carrying the team, they can beat a lot of teams. It's just they can't have him carry every night.
Well, he's at 26 points right now, not even halfway through the third. I think you're right. I think he's on pace for potentially a 40-point game.
I mean, he's at
There you
28
go.
now, and he's about to possibly
Look at
get
that.
an and one.
He knows it too.
You see Alaska's coach not happy there, but again, they started so hot in this third quarter, and it isn't necessarily Texas has been hot. It's just Knight.
Well, they are playing to their strengths. And I don't know if the Alaska defense is just not doing a good job of protecting Knight.
I think it's just
Or
Knight
it's-
being Knight.
Yeah, I think that's what you said earlier, and I'm starting to believe in that. Ronan is back in. I guess they're going to try and mess with him for a while. He's got to make the hoop.
Yeah, I don't like the isolation play of Hervonen going there. Obviously, Okayu able to pull down the board and getting a foul on the putback is nice. But Alaska had it working with the post play of Garina, Okayu. Keep up with that. Obviously, now Texas is going to go ahead and make a substitution. They're going to keep Knight in. They're going to move him over to the point guard. And Heitkamp is actually going to slide over to small forward at 6'10", which, honestly, I like her there. She matches up, I think, a bit better. She gets to use her height a little bit more, and her weight disadvantage is not as big of a disadvantage. We'll see how she
she's
does.
got the jumping skills of a beyond a reasonable doubt. I think she really could be either a 3 or a 4, and really just serves to kind of help out the fact they drafted Birdie, who's predominantly best at 3, and I don't know. Again, it's one of these interesting games right now where it's really coming down to how 2 star players perform, and Knight is totally outperforming Najak, and in the second half, Alaska needs to kind of bring in the rest of the starting lineup, as I mentioned.
Speaking of
Now they're
Lucy,
down by 13.
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Alaska call another timeout at some point. But Sarah, obviously Najak sitting on the bench now. Sarah needing to step it up. And he makes the bucket there, but as you see there, the second quarter was really where Alaska struggled, only shooting 32% from the field. But Texas, I don't even want to see their field goal percentage because I feel like this quarter is probably above 80.
Let's see what this shot does. Knight hands it off to Birdie. Now they're backing off. Birdie from the hoop, though.
Well, here's the
was
thing.
just
If Birdie's backing off, it's only because he wants to get a nice run-up.
Yeah. Well, as you may or may not know this, I have not always been an FBA commentator throughout my career. So it's been a little bit of a learning lessons for me. But this is my second game this year. I've actually been really happy to come back into the booth for a second time, and I'm having a blast so far tonight.
Well, it definitely helps when you have a player like Knight showing up here tonight, already 31 points.
Wow.
He is on pace to break 40 potentially by the end of this quarter.
And yet I don't, Alaska is, their defense is about 3rd in the league, but they're not displaying that right now.
Well, in this case, it's just one player absolutely showing them up, and they just don't have an answer right now for him. I mean, that finally another miss, but he has 31 points. Doesn't matter if he misses every shot from now on.
I mean, he's already had a game of the year for him. If you get up to the 40-point range, Very few players do that per year. I hope that's clear to the audience.
Yeah, and we see Sarah able to make a basket there. And Knight, okay, he does need to start calming down. Those extra shots will start mattering as Alaska starts to mount a comeback, and we're going to see a second foul from Xanthos, and that actually might give the team a bit of a breathing room as they want to make a substitution anyways. They'll keep Knight on the floor.
Of course.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, TJ has had a lot of time on the bench, but that means in the fourth quarter he'll have more of an opportunity to control the tempo of the game while they let Knight recover, and if they need to bring him back in, they can in the fourth quarter. And Seckford already got a foul. And again, a quick substitution. They're going to bring Ciro back out. I mean, he's had a very good quarter game so far with 2 blocks already.
And now we're seeing the Alaska bench out there.
But see, they moved Sarah over to shooting guard, so keep an eye on him. I mean, I think he's the best shooter on the floor right now for the Arctic, so they might be trying to get him off the ball for some three-pointers. See Black, though, driving to the basket. No good there.
They really have to rely on kind of the dynamism of Sarah to set up these plays. And even when you have someone like Lady Black or even Hervonen filling in to give Najak some rest, I feel like as long as Knight is out there, you're going to get outperformed at your position.
I mean, he just casually hit that anyways. I mean, yeah, Alaska, please, thank you. Texas hasn't even called a timeout here tonight because they have had no reason to.
Did the referee say sorry?
I mean, they can.
That's some of that northern mentality coming out.
I mean, we are kind of close to Canada. But in the end,
I thought I heard something.
Texas up by 14 here. I mean, it was a game for the first quarter there, and the second quarter started to slip away a little bit there for Alaska. And they need to bring that energy out that they had in the first 1 minute of this quarter. They were really threatening the Lone Stars there to start with on that run, but it just seems like Knight said, "Oh wait, sorry, I had my cup of coffee. I'm ready to go now."
Yeah, they did get a shoot. They get a shot there from Sarah. He's only got 9 points in the first half, so
I think he's already got 9 in the second, though.
Well, regardless, you and I are both kind of surprised at where we are at this point, and I get the feeling now that the Arctics are just kind of to survive this quarter so that they can bring out as much energy as possible to finish this game and maybe make a potential run for it as they throw it to Black. Ooh. She gets
Sarah
Ocelot trot.
Well, I was gonna say Ciro obviously wanted a third block for his stat line, but it got a little aggressive there against the Corgi. And I mean, he's got like 2 feet and 2 inches on her, so he didn't have to necessarily even jump for the block.
Free throw line.
Yeah, well, they can get it back to a 10-point game here, but no good on the second. I jinxed it, of course.
Still down by double digits.
Yes, and we'll see if Conway decides to dish it up to Seckford. I almost feel like you need to start double-teaming Knight. You can't let him just keep going at this pace. Kong. Good defense there, forcing the miss, and now it's Alaska. A chance to get it back to a 9-point game for the first time in a while. 69-78. Knight, don't be surprised if he chucks up a shot at the first open look, and there he goes.
Complete mismatch between Black and Knight trying to.
36 points here with 2 minutes to go, but Kong laying it up off the glass.
Okay. Answering back.
I was going to say, apparently Alaska just had to go really deep in their bench to find someone with some energy here tonight.
Well, I haven't seen Kong on the floor until this quarter. And as far as I know, she's got what it takes. there are a lot of forwards that she competes with for that time.
Layup there, and the field goal percentage has gone the way of the Lone Stars, especially considering the extra shot attempts. Having both higher field goal and more offensive possessions is a recipe for victory, and Svengard unable to make the second chance bucket to answer back. Seckford elevates the skunk, dunking it down. 1 minute to go.
Saw a little bit of a swish there. Such a show off.
Oh, alley-oop attempt, but intercepted by Knight. Sarah to Black, unsuccessful.
And are we entering the Seckford show portion of tonight's festivities?
Apparently. And he'll go to the line for 2 after that miss, but Alaska had a spark there, but has Texas already extinguished it as they're up by 15 once again?
It's been an uphill battle now for Alaska to try and keep pace with this. And, you know, if Knight's going to have a night, and yes, I realize how silly that sounds.
I mean, it's called alliteration.
If Knight's going to have a night, that happens with big players like him. And River Otters, you know, they're not totally unused to the cold.
Nice step back jumper from Conway there, but they're finally actually giving Knight, speaking of, a chance to catch his breath. So he won't get a 40 bomb in this third quarter, but expect him potentially in the fourth. And Alaska will just take this last shot here. Najak from beyond the arc is good.
Well,
they've pulled it back a little bit. They were down by 9 at the half, and now they're down by 12. So they still lost the quarter in terms of final score. But considering where they were, I think they'll take a 12-point deficit compared to a 15 or an 18-point deficit.
I mean, that shot could be the little bit of life that you need to get the team back on the court and be like, okay, we just got to do that 4 more times.
4 more times.
It's not impossible.
Stop the other team 4 times. Excuse me. Altitude
I've seen
sickness.
crazier stuff happen. Well, I forgive you.
It's okay. I'm not drinking, I promise. TJ getting an and one opportunity to race that 3-point bucket a second ago. Well, what was a second ago in terms of game time, but has been a few minutes, and he is good on the and one attempt. Texas on their way to breaking 100 pretty quickly.
Well, Kong's still out there, and he needs to get Okayu back on the field
Well, that's the thing.
for a better opportunity.
The Svengard definitely adds a bit of height, and it gives a little bit of relief for Okayu so he can be a bit better rested and they can manage his minutes. So one of the things you have to keep in mind with him is that big bodies like him definitely struggle with high minute rotations. So being able to get him a rest, especially in key games. But right now, down by 15, you need your best players on the court. There is no managing minutes at this point.
Don't lose the ball, Black. Well, I like that matchup a lot better with Amos guarding Black.
Well, I mean, it doesn't look like, Marcus Knight is staring down at a child, so Amos a bit better of a one-on-one comparison between the two of them.
They're giving her some time here to try and get... Yeah, there you go.
Well, she's tricky. She's very fast and able to get the ball up from tight positions like that. So
You just saw it there briefly on the... Sorry to interrupt. They've taken less shots than Texas. So even if you were to say that their shooting percentage is lower, they just need to get
that specifically.
Whatever. Yes.
Well, to be fair, part of that was because in the first quarter, Texas was fouling Alaska more on their shot attempts, and Xanthos answering back with a dunk of his own. 10 points now for the rookie.
I think you mentioned him as a dark horse, and he doesn't get a whole lot of credit given that he's a rookie starter.
Kong answering with another layup. I mean, she's keeping them close here. Well,
yeah, it's been the night show with extra assistance from
the two rookies.
The two rookies. And Amos not completely.
Ooh.
Well, he's slow to get up.
Yeah, that was a little bit of. I'm a little surprised we didn't see a flagrant one coming out there against White Latch, but the refs are not going to call it, and Kong unable to make the second, so it's a 10-point game still here.
Yeah, that's an interesting call there. You don't usually see a player flop in that exact way unless they've been contacted.
Well, especially considering White Latch was moving towards Kong and the Shack elevating.
Okay.
We have some life once again from Alaska. They've awoken from the Ice Age.
Well, in Texas right now, they have some backup players out there. I don't know if Knight is on the floor right now.
No, he's not. He's still on the bench.
Yeah, they'll bring him out before this game gets too close, and I think after that it will be really interesting.
Yeah, well, I was going to say TJ hitting that bucket there definitely helps calm them down a little bit.
Oh. Ooh. Okay.
Yeah,
Unlucky bounce there.
I was going to say, it looked like it was going to be an and one, but Kong, and she has not been consistent from the free throw line. She's not a bad player to foul, especially as she's starting to feel it, and she misses both. So
that's 4 points that Alaska could have right now.
Well, look at the free throws of this half. 5 missed from Alaska, and TJ on the other end laying it up and in. Honestly, Knight has stolen it away, but TJ, Birdie, and Xanthos all have stepped up here, making the buckets when they count, and a block coming out from Xanthos. Isadora.
And Severine.
Getting it in.
All net.
They could just let Knight rest out the rest of the game. I mean, let him get his 40 bomb maybe, but up by 14.
Yeah, I'm not seeing a lot of motivation right now, even as Najak goes in and gets the foul.
They're not done yet, but
it's like for each score that they manage to claw something back, Texas just makes a 5-second answer. And let's count the seconds here.
Well, it's been 5 seconds.
Okay, it took a few extra seconds.
It took
here you go.
8. Yes. So, but it really has been, one pass and they get a bucket. And Alaska's defense has been lethargic here tonight.
I think their offensive strategy here was a little bit of a too comfortable. I think they relied a lot more on mistakes from the players on Texas team, but they brought everything to this tonight and have surprised a lot of people. And Severine is living her dream.
Yeah. Well, the unsigned rookie getting to play and making baskets here, especially after struggling 0 for 4 to start with. And I think perhaps Alaska maybe underestimated Texas a little bit. As we talked about, Texas was kind of already seen to be out of the hunt, so maybe looking a little too far ahead.
Yeah, we've got 6.5 minutes still. Easier things have happened. Texas hasn't been missing.
Yeah, and we can see Knight just waiting on the sideline. Hey guys, do you mind? I'd like to get my 40 points here tonight, please. Thank you.
Well, if he sacrifices his 40-point potential for letting other players on the bench continue to dominate like they have, rookies like Xanthos really proving that they have a starting place, at least fighting chance for one next season to continue to grow this team, then sure.
And waiting to see Sarah get brought back on the floor too. Hervonen out there right now trying to lead the offense, but he's mostly dealt with isolation plays, and part of that is him not knowing the offense as well as Sarah. And Najak really wish he had this kind of production in the first half. He struggled from anywhere beyond, well, actually within the three-point line, I should say. He was doing quite well from outside.
Now you're seeing a lot of, Heidkamp was lucky to hold on to that the way she did. There's a lot of hands in there, but that's Alaska's strength, and it's failed. And now they're kind of throwing everything they have, the kitchen sink, and Hervonen here, getting pressure.
Well, they also went away, and we see the ball stripped there. It looked like Alaska in the beginning of the third quarter were going to use the post players a lot more, as we saw them go to Garina on the first two possessions, but we haven't seen them go back to that. They just let Najak do whatever he needs to do to make a bucket. And honestly, they haven't even gotten Okayu involved. So you have two very quiet bigs, and you're not even shooting better than the other team.
Xanthos there, 7 for 10, 13 rebounds, 14 points tonight. And that is really good for a rookie.
I mean,
he's got to be proud of that.
Speaking of Najak, Najak's just on fire here, but
it's a little too late.
Just a little bit. This was first half great. But yeah, this would be a player of the game performance from the Horse, if not for Knight, honestly. Speaking of, both teams refusing to have a situation where Knight gets brought on the floor. Texas might have to call a timeout if they want to get him out there. It's been about 2 minutes already drained from the clock.
Well, Alaska's running out of time here. There hasn't been a whole lot of progress made in the last 3 minutes. Now they have to really stop doing shots like that and setting themselves up for losing the rebound.
Well, and that's just it. Texas, as you said earlier, every step Alaska takes forward, Texas answers back with one of their own immediately. There is no momentum being allowed to be built for Alaska. The only run we saw them have was at the start of the second half. Outside of that, it's been tit for tat for these two teams.
Yeah, I think it's a classic case, as you mentioned earlier, Ryan. They just didn't expect this from the Lone Stars at this point of the season, but the Lone Stars have to win out. They know that. And you left yourselves kind of unprepared for that situation. Maybe Alaska's already looking to the playoffs and completely overlooked this game. I am not, of course, the head coach. I would not allow that. But just a lot of crazy turnovers there, and now this game has gotten away from them completely.
Yeah, and Texas playing for pride, honestly. I mean, they've been a team, as you mentioned, that have had issues in the past couple of years. They really haven't been able to stand out in their division. Xanthos slamming it down, heading for a 20-point game if he keeps this up.
Love it.
But in 8 points this quarter alone, I mean, half his points have come in this final 10 minutes of this game. And finally a dead ball. Knight, I think, was falling asleep there on the sideline and probably needs to stretch his legs out.
Yeah, look how slow it was for him to get up there.
He's been there since the 6-minute mark. I'm honestly, he might not break 40 now because of that. He has been on the floor waiting so long.
Yeah, and the crowd's starting to leave.
I mean,
you don't even want to
them?
see if he makes it.
If it was, if Najak was close to 40, I could see them staying. But they're not just going to say for Knight, who, I mean, that's a heave of a three-pointer, but Alaska, coming up on 3 minutes without a bucket.
Yeah, they really relied on the Fox tonight to make those early shots. He was not efficient enough to do that. And even here, as he's improved, and even with assistance from Sarah, it's just not been the game I think they hoped for. And we'll see how this plays out. Of course, Alaska is in, I believe we said, the 7th position right now. Things would have to work of course, in Lone Star's favor again for them to see the playoffs happen at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But they've done everything they need to tonight, and it's been the night.
Ooh, 3-pointer for he is only on the floor right now for the 40 bomb. They have subbed everyone else out and put the bench in.
Did you hear that?
I don't blame. Okay, what?
I said it was the night, and then the announcer went night.
Just stop it.
This is amazing.
Well, you know what's amazing is if he hits the 40 bomb, and he's going to have an opportunity here, one at last possession. You know they're going to give it to him.
All right.
And they're
on,
only
Marcus.
keeping him out here for this, so he better convert.
Well, they're going to play a little bit of a time clock game with that.
Ivy, you do not take this shot. You do not take this shot, Ivy. What were you doing? Bad Ivy. The whole reason Knight was... I know you have not made a basket this half, but the whole reason...
Yeah, see, now they're trying to turn it back over so they can get that.
That was all for Knight. The only reason he's out here right now is for that 40 bomb attempt.
I don't think Robbins got the memo.
And Okayu with the offensive rebound. Doesn't matter. They're going to run out the clock. Congratulations, Robbins. I'm demoting you to the deep reserves for that. You stole Knight's attempt for that last basket.
And I would assume that some of those boos aren't just because the Arctics lost, unfortunately.
The few Texas fans that showed up.
If there are any Texas fans in Anchorage, they just made their voices heard.
Well, looking at the stats, Najak finished 9 for 22, 27 points. Most of those buckets coming in the second half, 5 assists. Hermione Okayu, 3 dunks this game, 4 for 4. She was very efficient, but needed to take a few more chances. She probably could have helped put a few more points on the board. Okayu did not. Ogun, her brother, did not have as good of a game, 1 for 5. Sarah, 7 for 13, 16 points, 2 rebounds, 4 assists. Garina Jr., 10 points, 8 rebounds. He got more involved in the second half. I wish he just had been part of the offense more so from the beginning. Hervonen, 3 for 11 for 9 points. Lady Black, 7 points, 2 rebounds, 4 assists. Svengard, 4 points, 6 rebounds, and a turnover. Contributed, I think, 1 more basket in that second half. Poor John, 6 points, 6 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 for 4 from the field, 2 for 3 from the free throw line. Marshall didn't really get many more minutes after the first half, so finished with 2 points, 2 assists. Kong came in the second half, 3 for 3, 7 points, 3 rebounds in her 11 minutes on the floor. And Montgomery we didn't see any of, and Coop only appeared because of the blowout. TJ, double-double, 18 points, 10 assists. Bertie Lavoie Williams that was dangerously close to a triple-double from the rookie. 11 points, 7 rebounds, 9 assists, and a steal. 5 for 9 from the field. Heitkamp, 8 points, 6 rebounds, and an assist. 3 for 3 from the floor. The jumping spider only ended up pulling down 1 offensive rebound, but then again, they kept making too many baskets for there to be offensive rebounds. Xanthos, 16 points, 14 rebounds, 4 blocks. Great defensive showing. And then there's poor Knight. Poor Knight. 39 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists, and a steal. 5 for 7 from the three-point line, too. So he was on fire from all ranges here tonight. Conway, 2 points, 1 rebound, 3 assists, a steal, and a block. Isidore Severin, 6 points, 3 for 8. White Latch, 2 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 for 2 from the floor. Robbins, 2 points, 1 rebound. I hope that extra miss was worth it. Berenson, 2 points, 2 rebounds, and a steal. Seckford finished with 8 points, 2 rebounds, and an assist, 3 for 3 from the floor. Good showing for the Skunk here tonight.
Yeah.
Especially in that second half. Zero, we didn't really
Ocelot Trot.
Well, we didn't see a lot of him. Only a couple of minutes on the floor in the third and fourth quarter. 4 points, 2 rebounds. Still finished with 2 blocks. And team comparison, I mean, Lone Stars just won out in the end. I think every major statistic besides the bench points, because Knight just had all the points.
Yeah, and you're noticing there that they had the better field goal percentage throughout the entire game. They just were given the opportunity there to
Mm-hmm.
really make it happen for them. And I don't blame any particular player on the Alaska side of things for that. I think it was just kind of a massive team shrugging their shoulders, be like, well, we've got this game at home. It should be a handoff. And and they didn't expect a night.
Night, night, night.
And you know, we didn't say it. So the final score 118 to 101. Um, that was just an aspect of it. It was whenever Texas got up 10, 12 points, Alaska would score back, but it was consistently the Lone Stars who came back after that and kind of demolished any morale that the Arctics could muster.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I think, if you have anything that you could point toward in terms of like a mentality shift, that was key for Texas. I wasn't even thinking about that as a possibility that they could kind of play this mental game with a team like that, and it just had controlled the ball long enough to make those types of things happen.
Yeah, and Alaska was getting the fouls called in their favor. I mean, the fact that they finished with 70% from the free throw line is not a great stat. I mean, you're expecting to miss some, but you want to finish, in the 80 to 90% from the free throw line. That's missed points left on the floor. And the fact that they only generated 2 turnovers that whole game compared to 9 on their side. So the turnover difference was just so heavily favored towards Texas. That's where you see all those extra shots coming out. I mean, Texas could have afforded to shoot worse tonight than they did because of all those all those extra turnovers they had. But in the end, Texas was just the better team here tonight.
And Alaska came into this game second in steals per game.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get that feeling that they were really getting those opportunities here, and that will have to be looked at as Alaska's still likely to head into the playoffs here. Let's not write off.
Well, San Jose is their biggest threat.
Right. So they need to probably already be looking at this game in particular and go, okay, here's everything that went against us tonight, and we need to recalibrate ourselves going into the playoffs to set ourselves best up for whoever ends up being either the first or second seed. Right now, it's looking like Dakota's got that first seed on lock, but the second seed is still up for grabs.
Mm-hmm. And they need to figure out who they can rely on. Jack obviously came into it late in the game, but they can't rely on someone who has a cold start to catch fire.
Right. Right. Again, I don't necessarily blame Najak. He had a bad first half, true, but none of the other team players really were stepping it up enough to make a difference here. We saw that brief moment. If you recall, Evan Marshall, the only score he got tonight was that one fast break, and we never saw him again after that. And it's kind of like, okay, well, what happened with those players coming off the bench that would have been able to maybe break in some of the monotony? I think they relied too much on the guards to really carry this game, and it was not happening.
And on the other side, I definitely want to highlight the great showing from the 3 rookies for Texas. Obviously, Birdie, as I stated, was on track for almost a triple-double there. I mean, 1 assist shy of a double-double and 3 rebounds behind, making it a triple-double. But also, Xanthos, 16 points, 14 rebounds. I mean, that's a great showing from the rookie horse there. And Isadora had a really rough start, 0 for 4, I think, in the first half, but came out and scored 3 for 4 in the second. So she was able to shake that off and be productive coming off the bench. And, the 3 rookies essentially scored as much as Knight did. I mean, that's not fair to Knight to try and lump 3 other players together to match his score. But at the same time, the 3 rookies really showed up and were not only putting up the points, they were doing so efficiently, and they were supporting the team. Those 3 along with TJ basically cut any momentum out from underneath Alaska's paws before they could get started.
Yeah, if I were watching this game tonight as a Lone Star fan, knowing that the odds are kind of against the team to carry this out, at the end of the season, I'm still going to look at these rookies and go, there's something here that we need to pay attention to, something special. Fruitu Santos isn't necessarily the guy who you go to normally for an offensive explosion like he had tonight. He's typically more of a defensive player. But for someone who is a big, to take on a player like Ogunakayu and have a showing like that, there's something there that needs to be paid attention to going forward.
Mm-hmm. And it definitely helps having Knight take all the attention off of
Very true.
you, but at the same time, how many Ivy Robbins jerseys are getting pulled from the store tonight?
Well, Ivy Robbins, we can discuss that in the post-game stories, but the Great Dane is not so great right now.
I mean, you can lose track of yourself in the game, but at the same time, it's like they kept Knight in for that reason. Everyone else was benched except Knight, and that there was a reason. He needed 4 points.
The only thing you got to make sure of when you're doing this is that, okay, Robbins number 26, right?
Yes.
And Knight plays at, I believe,
24.
24. Just make sure you're grabbing number 26 instead of 24 when you go to shred that thing tonight.
Please.
And throw it away.
Well, anyways, thank you all for tuning out tonight. Any final words you want to give Matt Lewis?
Well, again, thank you, Ryan, for having me. It's been a blast. I've had a lot of fun coming in here to the booth with you, and I was surprised to see a really unsuspecting game from some really young talent, and I hope that I get the chance at least once or twice more in the coming year or two to do something like this again. So thank you.
No worries. Thank you for coming out tonight and joining me once again. And thank everyone for tuning in tonight. We will see you again. We still have 2 more sports dens to go before the end of the year. And keep an eye out on the playoff chase. It's going to heat up here in the final weeks of the season.
The West is kind of a mess in the center part of it.
The West is a mess. And see y'all and have a good night.